What is up, everybody? It is Trey here, joined today by my dad, Shawn, and we are here today with a record I'm really excited to review. Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City, 2012 classic. Kendrick is one of my favorite artists of all time. He's my artist of the decade of the 2010s. He's just so talented. I was excited to have you listen to it.
Yeah, I've never listened to any Kendrick. It's interesting.
And if this is your first time stopping by the channel, we appreciate it. Here at Reactions to the Classics, we take a look back at some of the most classic albums of all time, do a detailed track-by-track review. It's usually the first time we've heard the record, or at least one of us today has heard the record. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button, and you can check out some of our other reviews and the links below, as well as our Patreon, where you can get exclusive videos and for as little as $1 a month. But we're just going to jump into this with the quick facts.
Yeah, it was his second studio album, but his major label debut. October 2012, debuted at number 2 on the Billboard chart, sold 242,000 copies its first week. Mainly recorded at several studios in California, and then a track in Atlanta also was dropped. Different producers on this thing. We had Trey, we had Just Blaze, Pharrell Williams, Hit Boy, Scoop DeVille, Jack Splash, and T-. It's billed as a short film by Kendrick Lamar on the album cover. It depicts a day in the life of a 17-year-old Lamar as he rides around the drug-infested streets and gang lifestyle of his native Compton in his mama's minivan. Album received widespread acclaim from critics who praised its thematic scope and lyrics. Earned 4 Grammy Award nominations, including Album of the Year. And Trey, I'd never heard this album, but I actually have been to Compton, unlike you.
Yeah, exactly. That Southern Cal back in the day in your college days.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and this, production-wise, it's more low-key for most of the tracks. Of course, there's some where the beats get really heavy in there. And Kendrick is one of the best, I think, lyricists in the game today. And this is a concept album,
right,
where he goes through and he talks about the struggles of growing up in Compton, starting off as a 17-year-old, getting involved with his friends, talking about gang violence, growing up around, your family and the violence, how you're going to navigate that, drugs, alcohol, and then other matters of faith and how that can help you out of that, and just staying true to your brothers and your families. And it's a loose narrative, though. It's not linear. So if you're listening to this record, it could be a bit confusing if you don't know what's going into each track. So that's what we're going to maybe help out today. I was a junior in high school when this record came out, and it had a little bit of buzz in my white suburban high school, and I listened to it, and it grew in appreciation for me to the hip-hop genre. I was big time into it, became a Kendrick fan that day, and all the way 2019, 7 years later, still one of my favorite artists of all time. So that kind of gets us in the quick facts, and we're just gonna jump into this dense record, starting off with the first track, Sherane, a.k.a. Master Splinter's daughter.
Yeah, it starts with the sinner's prayer. The same prayer is repeated by Maya Angelou, of all people, and presumably 2 gang members. On the 10th track, Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. It also dictates the tone of the album. It shows the upbringing of the character we see facing the aspects of this life, Trey, but it is not the first track in the narrative of this.
Almost a flash forward of certain points. At this point, Kendrick's on his way to meet up with his girl, Sherane. He details out how he met her. He mentions that a couple of her family members are gang affiliated. That's definitely going to come into the play.
It definitely is.
The beat is very stripped back, a little bit ominous.
Yes.
And at the end, Kendrick pulls up to Sherane's house, and who does he see? He sees 2 of Sherane's brothers out there. They're in gang colors, and they don't look like they want to see Kendrick too much. And then before we get more into the narrative, we get into a pretty comical skit.
Mom calls up Kendrick, wanting to know when he's bringing back the minivan, and says he's going to be gone for 15 minutes, and his dad jumps on the phone. He wants his Dominoes, and then Mama wants him home. So that kind of takes us into one of my favorite tracks on here, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. It is not targeted at a female, so don't anybody get upset. It's a track that he laid down. Also doesn't fit in the narrative.
No, this is one of the only tracks that stands alone by itself. It was a single, and here we have present-day Kendrick, from 2012 at the time, rapping, pretty much just taking aim at other rappers at the day who rap but maybe aren't saying stuff. stuff. He's out here doing what he's gonna do. His New Year's resolution is to stop all the pollution in the rap game. There's some golden lyrics in here. Look inside of my soul and you can find gold, maybe get rich. And the hook here is just really catchy. Bitch, don't kill my vibe. He just keeps going on that.
It's very catchy. I didn't go around singing it, but it was going on in my head.
This is one of my favorites on the record. There's also a remix version with Jay-Z that's a bonus track that has some good verses as well. And then we're going to hop back to the very start of the narrative with the next track, Backseat Freestyle. And here we just get the bass really thumping, one of the best beats on the entire record. And if you read the lyrics on the surface, they're incredibly vulgar, but it comes from the skit from the previous track saying, hey, get in the car, got a pack of blacks and a beat CD. So his friends are just going around freestyling and saying the most outlandish things, being 17 years old and showing kind of what the mindset is Kendrick had as a 17-year-old in Compton.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he said in some interviews I read, that exact thing, that he just wanted to be as outlandish as he could. So you can't take it at face value. It's 17-year-old kids with their friends talking noise, and we've all been there. Next up is the art of peer pressure, which we've all lived through, and Kendrick talks about it here. They're supposed to commit, they have a mission to commit a robbery, and so he is kind of, this is where the narrative starts to really kick up, Trey.
Usually he's drug free, but he's with the homies. He's never been violent, but he's with the homies. He talks about the stuff they're going to steal. They're getting nervous that they're going to get caught, but they made a left, made a right. They got out one lucky night with the homies. Starts to see just the negative influence Compton is having on Kendrick. Yes. And then the skit at the end, they talk that they're gonna go their separate ways. Kendrick's gonna go meet up with Sherane, then they're gonna meet back, and Kendrick's mom, he's gonna get his mama's van. Yeah. So that's where the van starts to come into play a little bit. So at this point, he goes, gets the van, goes to meet Sherane, and then that leads us into Money Trees, which kind of recaps some of the stuff that's gone on.
J-Rock is also in this, and he reassesses what has gone on so far.
He notes that money trees are the perfect place for shade. That's just how he feels, but he also notes that money can be corrupting.
Exactly, and talks about the immortalization of his uncle who was killed.
Yes, absolutely. He talks about the violence here. The one in front of the gun is going to live forever. Everybody's going to respect the shooter in the sense that, oh my goodness, this dude just went out, shot somebody. But at the end of the day, the people that get remembered are the victims of these violent crimes and whatnot. And the rapping here is just fantastic, filled with great bars, and J-Rock has the best guest verse on here.
I agree.
I think he notes just the problems that go on in the inner cities, that girls might have to go sell their bodies, guys have to go sell drugs, but because there ain't no turkey on Thanksgiving, somebody just domed somebody else. And it just, I mean, obviously I didn't grow up around stuff like that, but it gives you an appreciation, or at least able to understand a little bit about what goes on with people walking in a different direction than you. This is one of my favorite tracks on the record, and sets into motion the next track, Poetic Justice, features Drake.
Yeah, Kendrick explained, if you listen to Poetic Justice, it's a song about a chick saying these legs are poems. On the back end of that, it's really the Sherane joint. So it's a dedication song for Sherane. And that's going into Good Kid and Mad City, which completes the story. Trey, it's got a different kind of sound to it. There's female background vocals to it that are just tremendous.
Pretty melodic track, one of the more chilled one. Takes a big shift though. We go back from the start, what we heard in the first track, where he pulls up, he sees the two guys out there beefing with Kendrick, saying, I'm going to ask you one more time, get out of the car, I'm going to snatch you out of the car.
Where are you from? Where your mama from?
Yeah, exactly. They don't like him because he's from another part of town, and then they snatch him and beat him up, and that ends that first side really and first part of the narrative of this album. And then we get into Good Kid.
This one has Pharrell Williams producing. He also does the hook, which starts off the song, and it picks right up after K.Dot got jumped.
What I like about this is one of the more underrated songs, just I think on the entire record. Doesn't get talked about as much as it should. The narrative starts First verse, he talks about just the violence he maybe endured. Step on his neck, you get blood on your Nike checks. And then the second verse, he gets stepped on as hard as the bulletproof vest that the police are wearing,
yeah, exactly.
because he's getting racially profiled.
Well, it paints back to what you were saying previously about having some sort of empathy for growing up in this kind of environment. He wasn't in the gangs yet. He was being, bothered by the Bloods and the Crips.
Yeah.
And then the cops aren't helping him either because they're thinking, well, he's a young kid, but he still could be one of them. So you can't win. So just a little thing for those of us that don't live in that situation, to maybe step back and not judge so quickly, because you're not walking that out.
Yeah, exactly. And there is some confidence in Kendrick even through on this, saying one day you will respect the good kid, m.A.A.d City. m.A.A.d City is our 8th track. This is one of the more famous songs in Kendrick's entire discography. One of his best songs, I believe. The beat is fantastic.
Beat and the bass are fantastic. And he sings with a different kind of voice in this song.
Oh, yeah.
Almost, I don't know if I want to say stress, but you can tell the situation is different. There's a very good job of changing that up so you actually feel the scenario in his voice.
He's really detailing out the violence. He goes again into his uncle was shot. He saw violence as a kid, just growing up around the environment. The hook, if Pyrus and Crips, who were the biggest gangs, all got along, they probably gunned me down by the end of the song. Here we actually know what m.A.A.d, M.A.A.d stands for. And there's a couple different tempo shifts in here. I really love this one. And at the end, he's back with his homies. They're passing him the bottle, kind of like, hey man, just drink this. It'll make the pain from the beatdown go away. And then we go into swimming pools, drank.
That was the lead single. It was mixed by Dr. Dre. It's really good because it's an introspective thing just about alcoholism. The swimming pool is, most people believe, he's saying if you could fill it up with alcohol and drink it all. It's just a tremendous track.
I like it because on the surface, some people, I mean, growing up, as whenever this song was really big, some people took it as like a party anthem.
It was glorifying it, but it wasn't at all. Totally misinterpreted.
He talks about how alcoholism has affected his family, going back to his grandfather, and how it's affecting him now. Some people want to do it just to fit in with the popular. That was his problem. Some people want to kill their sorrows. As the song progresses, it becomes a little darker, saying that maybe he'll do this and then sleep and never ever wake up.
Yeah.
And then he says, "In God I trust, just when I thought I had enough." And then at the end, we have really the climax of the entire narrative, I say, because now him and his homies are going to go and get revenge from getting beat down. They're ready to get him. They go out. Pop, pop, pop. You hear the gunshots going. They're like, oh, we got him. And then they look over and they say Dave, but Dave is one of his friends that it gets bleeped out.
Bleeped out, yeah, like it's like you do on TV. And Dave didn't make it.
No, exactly. And then so Kendrick runs over there, and Dave dies in his arms. And at the end, oh, they just killed my brother. And then we go right into an epic 12-minute song, Sing About Me / I'm Dying of Thirst. This is thought of as one of Kendrick's best songs overall, and I have to concur with that.
I agree with that.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack here, but we start off in the first verse. It's rapped from the perspective of Dave, the man who just got shot.
Right.
His brother, he talks to Kendrick saying, I respect that you went out and you held him in his arms as he died, but he would not have even been in that situation had it not been for you. And Kendrick, I think that weighs on Kendrick's mind a little bit. And towards the end, it's a little haunting because Dave's brother says he's going himself to get revenge. And
he's not going to come back.
No, you hear the gunshots because he mentions if I die before your album drops, then we hear the pop, pop, pop. What did you think of the track?
Yeah, I thought it was great. And I go through all the lyrics to all the songs, and the lyrics on this are long because it's 12 minutes. It is a fantastic story. The story is basically cut into two, but at the very end is what I talked about in the opening track with Maya Angelou coming in, talking to him about God, getting him to say the sinner's prayer. So I thought, what a track, man. As you said, 12 minutes long. It'd be the entire side of some older albums in just this one epic song.
Towards that second half, he starts to come to the realization he's tired of running, tired of living this lifestyle. And apparently, as they're walking by, one of the guys are like, I don't even care. We'll go back. We'll get him right now. And then, that Maya Angelou comes in. She's like, young man, is that what I think it is? Because the guy presumably has a gun. And she says, you're dying of thirst. And and then she takes them through, talks about Jesus, takes them through the sinner's prayer. They say that, and then Maya Angelou says, now it's time to go out, live your new life, which leads us into Real.
Yeah, and this song stresses the importance of loving yourself, a realization Kendrick would have had after, saying the sinner's prayer, finding Christ. I just think it's a tremendous song, and just for the message of it. Also has a nice, catchy female chorus that runs along.
Oh
with
yeah,
it.
I'm real, I'm
Yeah.
really, really real. Some people aren't a huge fan of this song, but I think it is a nice capstone and kind of an epilogue to what the biggest centerpiece of the record was, and
Yeah.
Sing About Me, and just how he's going to start this new life and how that's changed him. And at the end, he again gets a call from his mom. I heard somebody introduced y'all to the good book. Top Dog called, wants to meet up with him, which of course is the label that Kendrick is signed with. And so stuff is looking up for Kendrick, and the story here is
They don't care about the dominoes or the van
Yeah.
anymore because they haven't heard from him. Think about it. You hear that one of your friends got shot and they haven't heard from him. I think now it's like, just come back. We don't care about any of that other
very
stuff.
good point.
And that takes us right into the final track, Compton with Dr. Dre. This track is really good. Kendrick talks about the day he met Dre. He wrote this, and that he looked at it as the first day of the rest of his life. So it is a tremendous track.
Yeah, it kind of stands as the epic conclusion,
Yeah.
almost from the present day again. The first lines, everybody celebrate the new King Kendrick Lamar. He was able to rise up from the themes we heard from the previous songs in the album. From Compton, he was able to rise up, make something of himself, and be able to tell this story to all the other kids in Compton, just like his mom had said in the previous skit. Love the beat on this, very G-Funk, West Coast style to it. Dre has some good lines in there.
He has
as well.
the great line of was making $100 and I made $100 million when he sold the Beats by
Oh
Dre.
yeah,
That was tremendous.
I
line.
love that. That's the one that stuck out
Yeah.
to me too. So great way to end the album. And then the very last 10 seconds, he says, "Hey, mama, I'm gonna go use the van. Be back in 15 minutes."
Full circle, baby. That was a great way to end it.
And we hear like the tape in, so it's almost just like a loop. So that'll move us to our favorite tracks. For me, it'd be "Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst" would be my favorite on here. "M.A.A.d City," "Money Trees," amongst many.
Yeah, I like "Bitch Don't Kill My
Yeah,
Vibe,"
gotta shout that out too.
and also "Swimming Pools."
Oh yes, great. So that'll move us to our overall score. What do you got on this?
It's weird because I'd never listened to this, and so I had to listen to it. It's an hour and 9 minutes, guys, so it's not a quick listen. Break down all the lyrics. After I understood the concept of the album, so you mentioned at the start, I would really encourage you, don't just go listen to this album. You kind of got to understand, maybe if you, by watching this review,
Yeah.
you understand kind of the thematic story. For me, I give it an 8.75.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, man, this is a desert island disc for me. This would definitely be in my top 10 favorite albums of all time.
Wow. All right.
I just love this thing from start to finish, and some of that's emotional value just
Sure.
from back in high school, but it still stands up 7 years later, in my opinion, to hip hop, that's coming out today, and it stood the test of time. It definitely is a certified classic. I got to go a 9.75 on this record, and the scary part is, I think his follow-up record, To Pimp a Butterfly, is even better than this. And his most recent record even won a Pulitzer Prize. He's a modern-day poet, I think, in a lot of sense, and some people don't give hip-hop artists that claim, even whenever they might deserve it. So definitely go. I would definitely, even if you're not a hip-hop fan, suggest you listen to this record, and let us know what you think of Good Kid, M.A.A.d City, in the comment section below, what your favorite tracks are. And as always, Ed, appreciate the research.
Yeah, it was enlightening. I enjoyed it.
Especially on an album this big. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the big red subscribe button. We upload multiple times a week, do live streams, lots of different genres. And until next time, my friends, thank you so much for watching. Happy listening, and we will see ya.